Right, good morning everybody and welcome to the Birmingham Careers Hub LMI Spotlight session this morning. We're going to be looking at the creative and digital sector today, and I have got an interesting panel of people who are going to be speaking to you and answering some questions about the sector and what's happening at the moment in Birmingham. So the aim of the session is to increase schools' knowledge of the sector and what they can do to support their students to access a career in this sector. So I'm going to introduce you to the panel now. So first of all, we have Ravinder Lally. Would you like to tell us who you are, Rav, and why you're here today?
Yeah, I'm Rav Lally, Senior Policy Officer for GBS LEP. The LEP is a strategic body that supports education and skills across the geography of the LEP. And one of our key priorities is about inspiration and making sure young people have access to information for careers to help them move into sustainable employment.
This is one of the sectors, isn't it, that is a growth sector for Birmingham?
Yeah, creative and culture is a growth sector identified in the West Midlands Industrial Strategy, and Birmingham are the lead for that.
Okay, thank you. And Noel Dunn.
Hello, nice to meet you all. My name's Noel. I run an organisation called Creative Alliance. We're what's known as a specialist independent training provider, and our purpose is to enable young people from diverse backgrounds, experiences and abilities get into creative, digital and marketing roles. And we do that through providing careers education, apprenticeships and all the types of training.
Thank you, Noel. And we have Rav Gellon.
Hi, my name's Rav and I am from an organisation called Digital Advantage. We are also a training provider. We traditionally go into schools, colleges and sixth forms and provide experiential training, on-the-job training to young people, all with a view to developing and honing skills that can benefit them for going forward into a career in the creative and digital sector. So it sort of shoehorns quite nicely with what Noel's saying. We are closely aligned with the Careers and Enterprise Company and the different areas, and we deliver on a number of Gatsby benchmarks through all of our training and indeed our newer offer, which is an online package.
Thanks, Rav. And then our question askers today are Andrew Middleton. Andrew, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Andrew Middleton. I'm Assistant Head and Careers Lead at Victoria School in Birmingham. And Victoria School's a 2 to 19 special school. I work with pupils with a range of needs. I work in the secondary department. We've done a lot of work over the last 2 years on developing our careers education, you know, with the experiences that young people getting and the accreditation and the training alongside that. But now we're really looking to take it a bit further and appreciate what everything's available out there at the minute. So we've been part of the Birmingham Careers Hub now for a while.
Yeah, it's been lovely having you with us. And Cameron, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Cameron, formerly known as Eden, and I am a student at Victoria School. I tend to specialise in music. I'm doing a music BTEC course with Andrew, and I also do photography and writing on the side. I'm very excited to join the Careers Hub and hopefully know more about careers and life after.
Brilliant. Thank you, Cameron. Thank you for coming today. So my first question is to Ravinder Lally, and that is, well, it's a two-part question actually. I'm going to confuse things already. What actually is the creative and digital sector, and what are the sorts of jobs that we're talking about in that sector?
Okay, so creative, cultural and digital kind of come to mind, so we also put the cultural inside there as well. we like to see it as kind of 3 or 4 sections, which is communications and marketing is one aspect of it. Then you've got the cultural venues, the theatres, the live music, production side of things, and then you've got screens, so that could be gaming, that could be film production, so there's the whole range. And then obviously you're talking about digital. Digital, technically, we sometimes actually don't see it as a sector because we think it's something that fits in all the roles. So digital is a skill that's required whether you are in the comm side of it or the cultural side of the roles, theatre production or the screen side. Digital will play a massive part in most of the creative and cultural roles. Types of things, so for example, you could be a fashion designer, you could be a jewellery maker, you could be a film producer, you could be lighting engineer. The types of roles are so broad and varied in creative and cultural and digital, and there is really something for everybody, whether you're not actually artistically creative minded but actually very program focused. There's roles within there for that, or if you're very articulate and well written and want to write, you know, scripts, or, you know, press and media side of things, the types and depth of roles are so broad. And also within the sector there's many different levels of roles. So there's the front of house that you would naturally expect, but also there's the supporting staff, and also don't forget they're still going to be paid. So there's finance, there's HR. So even if you're interested in the sector but not sure how it would work for you, the roles that are in there, they're just beyond anything you could think of. There's just so many. So really do go out and explore and find how your types of interests that are interested in and how you could fit into the creative and cultural side. You know, you've got the galleries, libraries, publishing, computer hardware, software, IT, and then a lot of that is now coming into, especially on the digital side, the VR, the AI skills that are coming in, and that again is just kind of growing rapidly, and the skills are changing all the time.
Okay, thank you, Rav. That's really interesting. So our next question is from Andrew Middleton.
Thank you. So my question really is to Ravi and Noel. What do you think of the things that are happening locally in the creative sector that we as a school are telling our young people about?
I've got a couple of things, and then Noel, do you want to chip in, because I think you'll probably know a lot more than I do. So one of the,
you start, I'll follow up. Yeah.
A couple of things. There's a lot of investment going on, especially around the Digbeth area and around that part of the city. There's a media village being created with virtual studios. Also, we've got BBC that are actually really committed to the West Midlands. There's a lot of filming that happens. The Midlands filming from BBC that happens here. You know, Line of Duty is one of those famous ones that have been filmed here, and they're committed to the Midlands now for the next 6 years, and they're going to do ATAs for apprenticeships there. So there's quite a lot that is happening of investment, plus there are colleges that are interested in developing more on the cultural and digital side of things. For example, South Staffordshire College in their Lichfield campus are looking to develop a virtual reality studio and qualifications. I'm sure there's plenty I've missed.
There's so much going on, but I think I'm going to focus on just a couple of things for you, Andrew. One is, I would really encourage you to take your students out and do a visit to Digbeth. And if you want a hand with that, then we can help with that, because just a walk around would help your students understand just the sheer variety of different types of companies that there are literally within a 10-minute walk from the custard factory. And as Rav said, there are so many different roles. A lot of the time we just think that the creative industries is all about people performing or creating content, but as Rav was saying, there's so many different roles that people can move into. And I'm going to talk the second thing in relation to that is around the types of qualities that employers are looking for. And I think the easiest way to describe that is they're looking for T-shaped people. And by that I mean they're looking for people who have an in-depth skill, you know, that they know very well, but also a broad set of knowledge and skills. So, for example, I'm going to use you, Cameron, as an example. You're doing music and photography. So the junior content producer apprenticeship, we have our graphic designers, our copywriters, our photography assistants, our videographers. They all do that apprenticeship, but they need to understand and know how to produce content in all those different forms, even though they are specialising. So you need to be both a specialist and a generalist. Does that make sense? So you need to know a lot about different things as well as having your specialism. And I think the more that schools can help their students develop that broad set of knowing, for example, it's great if you're a content producer, but you need to know how to market it. It's no good just knowing how to make content. You need to know how to disseminate it and how to get it out to people, how to get feedback. So that would be my two top tips for schools. Go and visit, go and see the place and get inspired, and look at developing those T-shaped type qualities, because that will really help young people when they're competing for roles going forward.
Thank you, Noel.
That's brilliant, Noel. Thank you. That I love that idea about going to Digbeth, because the Southern City have got a college there as well, obviously, and I've always wanted to take the group there because we've never been to have a look, and I hadn't thought about actually then carrying it on into Digbeth to see the independent companies that are there. So that's great.
If you go to Southern City, come to us, because we're 2 minutes just up the road in Zelig.
Brilliant. Thank you. Will do.
So Cameron, you've got a question for Noel.
I have. My question is sort of explaining myself as well. I'm quite interested in the sector of arts because, for one, I've wanted to go into visual art, and I have a major thing how I look and how others look, and also the technicalities, learning something different, anatomy of a camera maybe, or just other things that I can do other than the most basic job roles. I'm not sure the best routes in this are. Should I go freelance or should I try and get an apprenticeship? What are your advice to a young person like me?
Well, I think you've got three routes to consider, Cameron. You've got, initially, you could go down an academic university type route, or you could go down a work-based learning or apprenticeship route before you go freelance. And I'll tell you why. I think first thing is to work out, how do you prefer to learn? Do you prefer to learn on the job by doing things, reflecting on them? If you prefer to learn like that, then an apprenticeship is definitely the best option. If you prefer to learn about things and in a more classroom-based environment rather than a work-based environment, then sort of a college or a university course might be a good option. But you need to first of all work out what you think suits you best. Now, obviously, I'm a work-based learning provider and I do apprenticeships, so I know far more about that route. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about that route and then how that potentially leads into freelance. The two big areas that we're seeing growth in this last year are in digital content production, people making digital content, making film, making animation, making images, graphic design, because we all know that we need to get that content online. And of course, it's also digital marketing. And there is some crossover between the two. They are obviously different, but there is some crossover. Now, the thing to remember around things like digital content producer is these are roles that every company needs, not just creative industries companies. And this is what I'm reminding people is you could actually find, you know, yourself in a role where you're able to make content, you're able to fulfill your passion, but you actually might be working for a marketing company or an engineering company or a retail company. So don't discount that, as those are all routes in. Now, in terms of freelance, 40% of people working in the sector are freelancers. So it's a really good question to ask about that route. The challenge that young people start out going as freelancers is they're not known by people who buy their skills. Yeah, you need to have developed a network of clients or potential clients before you go freelance. So you need to have developed a reputation, and that reputation is for two things: the quality of your work. So you need to have a fantastic portfolio, but also, and I would say even more importantly, you need to have developed a reputation for being reliable, for being humble, and for being professional. You know, if you say you're going to do something, you do it before the deadline. If you say you're going to be somewhere, be there. When you're working with a client, do not be on your phone unless it's work related. You know, that the attitude is so critical. And if you develop a reputation amongst people for the right attitude, those and developing good quality work, that will stand you instead for a freelance career. But what I always advise people is don't just leap straight into a freelance career. You might have to be doing a full-time job whilst you're doing your freelance stuff in the evening or at the weekend, and then you might phase out from a full-time job into a part-time job, and then from a part-time job into just short-term contracts. So it's much more of a process than just starting a freelance career. We're currently running a training program for young adults about how to become a freelance creative. And we just did the first session on Tuesday, and that's exactly what I was saying. Don't just think about, oh, I'm going to set myself up as a freelancer on June the 1st and that's it. You need to plan it and think more of a process. So I'm giving you a lot of I spent an hour and a half talking about this on Tuesday, and I'm trying to reply in 2 minutes. So sorry, I've given you. Is that helpful? Is there any follow-up question you want to have from that?
Totally, yeah. There's just one question, and it's more of a personal question in and of itself. If I have a delayed learning process, how would I go into it being as efficient as somebody that knows this stuff without the learning curve?
That's a spot on question. Now, what employers, if you have the talent and if you have the attitude, the right talent, the right attitude, the right employers will make the reasonable adjustments, because they will know that actually, okay, you may need longer to complete a project in the workflow. So it might be that there's just very specific things in that workflow program that you're given responsibility for doing. But I've seen it work, and quite a few times, because people with different neuro-linguistic makeups can be very, very effective working in particular roles where, for example, programmers, editors, where there's a need for attention to detail. There are roles that people do very well in this sector. Do you want to come back? Because I'm aware.
I'm going to have to think we need to move.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Cameron.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Right, the next question is from you, Andrew Middleton, to Rav Gellon and Noel, and then we'll move into the demo, if that's all right, because we're getting a bit short on time.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, Noel actually started to answer this a bit before. So I work with young people with additional needs. Do you think this sector is accessible to our students, and what can we do as a school to help them develop the skills they need to get into this sector?
You right, if I go?
I've said a lot already.
You're right, Andrew. I think what Noel was saying was absolutely right, and things that I would touch upon. I think there are so many areas for neurodiverse young people to move into within that sector. I don't think it's closed off. I think that there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and I think that Noel touched upon it. You know, it's for the right employers, and it's working with them and doing workforce development and training with them at the moment that we're doing up in Manchester to try and help them to understand how they can best, you know, utilise somebody with neurodiverse needs, ways of working. And so we're doing that right now. So as I mentioned at the top, we're a training provider. We've traditionally gone into schools, and we started out just doing mainstream training, and more special schools started taking up our offer, and we started to learn then some of the skills that Noel's touched upon, some of the real valuable skills we're getting from neurodiverse young people in filmmaking, in film editing, in photography. You know, the patience that it requires and the attention to detail to get the right shot, to get the right angle. Of course, programming, that's sort of the traditional sort of viewpoint, isn't it? And lots and lots of people in the sector, quite probably undiagnosed, you know, older people who are more than likely on the spectrum, not speaking medically, of course, but more than likely on the spectrum and have been working in these roles. So no, I think it's completely open. I think it's a lot of the stuff that, again, it's going back to some of the previous answers that Ravinder and Noel have been saying, for schools. Expose your young people, expose students as early as possible. You know, find out what they're interested in, take them on sort of walks around. So in Birmingham, in Digbeth, up for us, it's the Northern Quarter in Manchester. Get them seeing and get them absorbing that sort of area physically, as well as then in terms of skills. And then start trying to find their passions and try and build in as much digital and creativity to your curriculums as possible, and where you can. You know, many projects that we found working with schools, lots of projects that schools are doing that have been traditionally paper-based or, you know, and learning, that could all be transferred with a bit of work with staff into a digital program. You know, so it could be something on the Greek Empire. That could be, the content could still be produced digitally rather than paper-based. Photographs could be done, found footage could be taken, you know, filming can be done. There's all sorts of ways we can apply it. So we're not doubling up on any workload, but we are reinforcing that learning, and it's trying to get that as early as possible, and taking on training programs as much as possible, incorporating those so that you can create those T-shaped students. And I fully agree with everything that was being said there. So you can create those T-shaped students, getting those young people doing podcasting, doing website design, doing content creation, social media, whatever it might be, and getting that, and they can start to build that up as soon as possible. But I would, as quickly as possible, I'd say do that from, you know, year 7 if you can, if not younger. We piloted a program in primary school last year with year 5s, and it worked really well, introducing them to the concept of work and digital work and what that actually could look like for them.
Brilliant, thank you. Could you move into the demo, Rav, please, of what schools can actually?
I'd love to. Yeah, thank you.
Use to support them.
Yeah, so as I said, we have created a training program. The first thing I'm going to do is just show you a quick intro video, so I think it can encapsulate most of it really quickly there, and then I will just show you through the actual web page itself. So hopefully you can all see this.
Yeah, we can see that.
Welcome to Digital Advantage Online, a brand new employability program for schools and colleges, designed to give students the skills, confidence and inspiration to work in the rapidly growing digital economy. The DAO program is proving an educational hit across the UK. Created in conjunction with our industry experts, the interactive workshops cover a range of digital subjects. Topics include branding, photography, videography, website design, and podcasting. Featuring over 30 hours of hands-on learning, workshops come with bite-sized lesson plans, interactive digital challenges, and technical support. And to make teachers' lives easier, we've also developed a teacher CPD to give you the know-how to successfully manage a digital project for your school. Digital Advantage Online gives students the chance to develop and deepen their hidden creative talent, ones that will serve them well both in the classroom and future employment. Get in touch today to find out how we can get you Digital Advantage Online ready.
So that was just a little intro, and hopefully that's given you a bit of a flavour of the programme. You'll have seen a number of different students in there, students with special educational needs, young people, as I mentioned, primary school students just before, they've taken the training. And this programme is designed for any young person who's wants to start building their skills and knowledge of careers and in the creative and digital sector. And it starts at entry level, but there are a range of tasks and things that you can do that will stretch that ability. So we've had students as young as year 5 taking this, and we've currently got a 6th form group at a grammar school taking it over in West Yorkshire, who are working through the training and completing the tasks as they go. I just want to take you through the website just to show you that it's really easy to navigate. There were some clips of it in the video. But this is it. It's a Google site, Digital Advantage Online. And as you scroll down the page, you very simply have your workshops that are available. And they're highlighted with the trainer who has created them for us. So far, we have these 5: website design, photography, videography, branding and podcasting. We have in development social media, identity design and storytelling. Social media and storytelling should be up within the next 2 or 3 months, and identity design a little bit beyond that. And we will continue to develop our suite as we go. All of them will be available to any schools that take up the offer sort of during the time that they've got access. Each of the programs, you'll see, I've mentioned each trainer. So if you think here, this is Ruby from branding. So she runs a creative digital agency, and each of the people that have created these packages of learning are experts in their field. They deliver on that. Ruby does branding for organisations, and that's from schools through to small businesses. Vic, as you can see there, runs a company called Mike Media, and she's a leading podcast producer based in the Northwest and runs conferences. So they are absolute industry experts in their field, which is something that we really felt important to ensure the integrity of our training. I'll just take you into the branding workshop now. So you see that there, and you just click Start Workshops. It's really straightforward. And once you go in, you've got your branding page. Okay, so at the top, you just get a little intro to what the program is, and then just before that, after that, you have just a little information as to what you might need. So this is around some software or applications that you might need to use. Now, we've made this training as flexible as possible. So you can run it from this website in your classroom, from a whiteboard. Indeed, young people can go on, they can put headphones in and work through things themselves with the teacher going around the room. It really is that flexible. And what we've tried to do is only use apps or applications that you can use either via an iPad or through web and on desktops. You don't need anything specialist. All of it is free. It's all free to use. You don't need to purchase anything specific. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing that you won't be able to work out and use yourselves. And we just give that information at the top of each workshop so you can be prepared for it as a teacher. We then go further down, you get a workshop briefing, which is just a little welcome, a little hi. Young people get to meet, in this case, Ruby. She'll give the information about what we'll be working through. And then on each page, you have the modules that make up each workshop. So as you can see for this one, you've got 8 modules, and then the 9th is just a little congratulation video. And to access them, again, it's very simple. Just click on the module. So for this one, if we have a look at how will your brand behave, module 3. And again, you get a little written intro and then a video. Now, each of the videos across the whole program range from anything from about 2 minutes to about 7 minutes, depending on the content. So some of the ones around videography are a bit longer. That you can stop and start them as you go, and you can make sure that you're taking in all the instruction and information that's being given. And they're a mix of photography, found footage, and the trainer speaking to camera to highlight the learning points of each one. Once you've watched the video, you've got a list of activities just underneath. And so on this one, the activities are listed there with roughly how long they might take. Depending on your cohort, you might choose to take a bit longer or a bit shorter with your particular group. You might choose to skip certain things depending on knowing your students. That's entirely up to you. But we've broken it down so that ideally you'd be able to plan your lessons out with this. And then slightly further down on most of the pages where it's applicable, you have a worksheet. And you can click on that to open it. It opens up in another page, and you can download these, use them as editable PDFs, or you can print them and hand them out to the young people to ensure that they can work through. So all of this basically relates to the activity questions that are there above. So what we've tried to do for teachers is try to break it down so you've got everything that you would need to plan your lessons, plan your activities, and be able to deliver the training as well as possible.
Brilliant.
So that's,
thank you.
No worries, thank you.
Is that everything, Ralph? Thank you. So I just wanted to say to Birmingham Careers Hub schools, we are funding this package. We have got some funding available. You need to apply for the funding, and you need to apply to either myself or Julie Stirrup, and I'll put those contact details on at the end. So just before we finish, has anyone got any sort of follow-up questions or tips, advice, anything that you want to say to just finish off the session? Cameron and Andrew, do you have any follow-up questions?
I've got one.
Yeah.
Say that I'm more of a visual learner. So I lose focus easily, auditorily. How would you say the Careers Hub or anybody going forward, how I can move working can help me out personally?
As a visual learner, did you say?
Yeah, as a visual learner, opposed to auditorial.
Oh, I see. So yeah, I mean, we're sort of trying to make all our resources more accessible for young people with SEND. So we are aware of that, and actually we're working on a project at the moment with Rav, which is it's got a combination of audio and visual learning to try and make it accessible. So we are moving more towards that, Cameron, and I think with the digital skills package, am I right, Rav, is that got all subtitles with the videos and things like that?
Yeah, subtitles can be added. You can stop and start them when you go, and you can work through it. So yeah, you've got all manner of options there, and you can work through them at your own pace as well. I think that's important, because I'll be honest, it might not be perfect for every single person, every single juncture, but you can stop and start and go over things again and again. And the videos, for example, in our training, they really give you everything, and it is very much as visual as well as audio sort of learning in that. We try and highlight everything that way.
Any other questions or tips and advice? Rav Lally?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that there are the supported internships as well, and the inclusive apprenticeship. So looking to those with the inclusive apprenticeships, if you've got the right employer, for people that English and maths is a barrier, the English and maths is a reduced level. So those that can't get the GCSE maths and English, they can still do the inclusive apprenticeship.
Noel, anything you wanted to?
Yeah, just really as a follow-up to Andrew and Cameron's last question, in terms of how you can support students and their progression, focus on their key strengths, and I would recommend looking at 3 technical strengths that a student has in terms of what they can create and produce, and really, you know, demonstrate that through a portfolio, but also look at the employability strengths and gather examples of where they've demonstrated that. The more evidence base you can provide of what a student is capable of doing, the more it will help an employer see how they could add benefit to their business.
Does that help, Cameron?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Anything generally about the sector, Rav, before we close?
I think, sorry, which Rav?
You, sorry.
Just more like what Noel was saying, a lot of the stuff is about your portfolio. So whether it's gaming or music or whatever, fashion, your portfolio is something that you can develop within your own skill set and abilities. So the more you produce of your own is the more evidence you need, because in this sector it's less about the qualifications and more about your ability and what you can produce. So build on and there are websites that you can go to which help you build a portfolio and teach you how to do that.
Brilliant. Thank you, everybody. I'm just going to put this last slide on so people can see the contact details. So yeah, any schools who want to find out more about the digital skills package that we're funding through Digital Link, then you can contact myself and Julie on there. So I just wanted to say, just turn this off. Thank you to everyone for your time today. It's been really, really interesting, and I think it's going to be really useful for our schools to understand more about how they can support their students to get into this sector. So thank you so much, and goodbye. I'll let you all go.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Cheers,
you.
bye.
Bye.
Bye.